request you to please adhere to the time limit. That is 10 minutes. Please don't exceed beyond that.
Okay, sir. Whenever you can present the slide. Whenever. Whenever. Are you there? So once again, sir, please check whenever is there. You can present my slides. Kanishka.
Munawar is not there.
Sir, sir, I can present with him.
So I think there is confusion regarding the class because
What
of
is that?
others. So I think he has joined Zoom. I think I will just present.
You may request me to join Google Meet.
No, I think on the WhatsApp group you can drop that message that all are supposed to join Google Classroom.
Okay, sir.
Yes, yes, you are audible. Start.
Good communication traffic. It is a result of a good design. Hey everyone, my name is Mohammed Usman. I with my partner Mohammed Shadad.
Usman, there is some problem. There is some problem in your mic.
Usman, you are not properly audible.
Now I am audible. Hello.
Yes, now you are properly audible.
I think I should have to place the mic like this.
Yeah, yeah, hold right there.
And speak a bit slowly. You are speaking too fast.
So the tone or the speed, I mean the volume.
The pace I
Usman,
am
can you
referring
speak
to.
without the earphones? Your voice is breaking also.
Okay, I think just give me a sec. I'm just give me a second. I'm just disconnecting my earphones.
You're not audible, Usman.
Now I am audible.
Yes, yes. Now you're audible.
Okay. Good communication doesn't just happen, it is a result of a good design. Hey everyone, my name is Mohammad Usman and I with my friend Shadab Ahmed is going to present today's presentation on the topic Good Communication That Blocks Learning by Chris Guys. He is considered as the father of the organization learning. So let's dive into the article and see what our professor tells us. In any industry, managers use communication techniques to gather information and help them bring about strategic change. In this Harvard Business Review article, Chris argues that these traditional techniques may help gather some information, like how employees like the food in the cafeteria, but these techniques may hinder the learning and communication that today's companies need for their employees to grow over the time. To let the companies flourish in this 21st century, they does not need only hard work from their employees. What they need more are the employees who have learned to take active responsibilities for their own behavior, develop and share first-rate information about their jobs. Learning and communication, both together, he argues, are the keys to every company's success. And for psychological reasons, in addition to generally accepted management techniques, companies tend to suppress learning rather than encouraging. He argues that traditional techniques were effective only in the past, where the leaders only wanted it pleased to do as they have been told, nothing more, nothing less. So here comes different techniques and their applications into existence. But familiar techniques, even applied correctly, inhibit learning and communication. Even leaders talking at each level can create confusion and disruption. What is happening and take effective actions. What is happening and take effective actions. Single loop learning asks one dimensional questions expecting a one dimensional answer. Single loop learning might give solutions to first problem but cannot prevent the solutions problem emerging from it, just like a thermostat. It's like I am the manager of a firm and let's take Saib as one of my employee and his way of talking to me is not good. Whenever he talks to me, he tries to suppress my thoughts and try to change my command and suggestions. So after observing this 2 to 3 times, I transferred him to some other department of the company. I did not try to find out the reason behind it. Maybe there is some problem in his attitude or behavior that will make trouble in that section. Or maybe there is something bad in me too. I should ask him, I should communicate him and try to find out the root cause. Here comes the second method of learning, that is double loop learning. Double loop learning requires one or more additional steps. It requires back and forth. It requires conversation. Both double loop learning doesn't only ask about the objective facts, it asks about the reason behind those facts. Like in our case, I should ask Saib about the reason. Our garage possesses the example of a CEO who discovered that each time an employer suggests an innovation in his company, it must go through 275 different checks and sign offs. This CEO immediately appointed a task force and he eliminated 200 of those steps. The result, more innovation to CEO's company. While it seems a positive step, our guys explain this is the case of a single learning. Why? Because this does not ask questions about the company's environment that keep managers mum. Why was this not addressed before? Leaders need to dig deeper and uncover the root cause of these issues. In this article, we also read about the habits that prevent organizational learning from employees blaming others and the reliance of the employees on management to solve the company's problem. Our Garris points out that learning is hindered by managers who do the surface level. Further on, he tells us about the mental models. The mental models we develop throughout our childhood and career. Our Garris says that mental models that influence decision making. In other words, the reasoning that people think they are using when making decisions. One of the puzzling thing about these mental models is that when we face a issue which is embarrassing or threatening, the master program we actually use are rarely the one we think we use. Our garage teaches us the spouse theory of the action, which is based on pupils' principle and background, and theory in use, which is the actual action people take when they are in a stressful situation. He is talking about the internal conversation one have when he is facing an embarrassing situation. For example, let's say Zishan is my boss, and I told him that I am ready whenever he needs a person to go in a meeting on his behalf. One day, when he actually needs me and calls me and told me to go to attend the meeting in Bangalore next day, I found this uncomfortable. So I talked to him, Zishan, very politely and make an excuse. But after some time, I'm not proud of this. I feel guilty. My offering to Zishan is the theory of spouse, and then making me excuse is the theory in use. Most of us have a quite different theory in use to which we resort in moments of stress. Very few of us are aware of this contradiction. Our garage says that most theory in use has four governing variables. That is, number one, to remain in unilateral control. That is, to maximize winning and minimize losing. Number two, to protect oneself and others from embarrassing. Three, to suppress the negative feelings. That is, laying clear cut goals. And number four, to be as rational as possible. The purpose of these four variables, or we can say this theory, is to avoid vulnerability, risk, embarrassment, etc. But Chris called this theory a recipe of anti-learning because it helps us avoid reflection of the counterproductive events of our behavior. Organizational defense routine. This category includes any rules, practices, and behavior that protect people from humiliation or threat while simultaneously prohibiting them from examining the source and the cause of the humiliation or danger. It's hard to believe that any learning happens at organization at all, but if managers are able to create environments that encourage double loop learning by asking the hard questions and encouraging employees to reflect on their behavior, those will be the companies that most likely to succeed. Now, this is the perfect time to call upon my partner, Mr. Mohammad Shadab, to carry on the further presentation.
Thank you, Osman, and a warm greetings to all present. So I will be presenting the leftover part of the presentation that how a good communication blocks learning. Slide sir. So we are here at how roles and responsibilities are assigned in managers, employees, conversations, interviews, and surveys. First is that the employees who are well inclined with the organization norms and procedures are well preferred for the task. And in common term, we refer such employees as bootlickers. And in this process, the employees' goals, failings, feelings, and conflicted motives remains unexamined and are taken for granted. And the second rule is that the top level managers assumes all responsibilities for organizational success and stakeholder benefits. These two rules can be very detrimental for organizational growth, and with good communication and double loop learning, such biases and assumptions can be removed. And more specifically, we can say that the relation should be like this, that employees should educate and managers should act accordingly. Now, to have a better understanding of the topic, we are taking a case of Acme, a multinational energy giant. Due to immense competition, the company was forced to lay off some of its employees from existing pool of 600 employees. So because of layoff, the morale was coming down. So to understand the shortcomings and to correct them, the company conducted a survey. Out of total respondents, 75% agreed that they were proud of their management and have high job satisfaction. And their immediate supervisor were also fair and technically competent. In short, they were having a positive views towards the management. And there were around 65% respondents who have negative views towards the management, like they were skeptical of the management capabilities to take initiative, and they were also blaming the company's culture. So from this survey, manager concluded their first finding to be that employees were loyal and satisfied, and thought second finding to be a problem that needs serious efforts to correct. So manager planned a list of action to reduce such problems. So here logic was that the employees will identify the problem and the management would fix such problem by creating new policies, practices, vision. So in this way, the change will inevitably follow. Apparently, this case seems to be very successful, but if we dig deeper there, we will find the actual problem. The problem was that the employees felt job satisfaction precisely because management never asked them to accept any responsibility. So they were high on defensiveness and there exists a single loop learning. So in short, there were employees who said that they were proud to work for the companies and described management as caring. And on the other hand, there were also some employees who doubted the management capabilities and competencies. So the real issues such as lack of empowerment, self-awareness, and dependence on management for tough decision has been bypassed and the bypass has been covered up. And now here I would like to quote Gaur Gopal Das, a famous motivational speaker and a monk at ISKCON. He quoted that every problem has a two solution, that is bhaglo or bhaglo. Bhaglo means to run away and bhaglo means to participate. You have the free will to choose. In every situation, you can either run away or participate. So good communication and participative and encouraging learning promotes bhaglo, that is participation. Now we will look how would a manager deal with uncomfortable issues at workplace. These issues are related with the resistance to change. Usually manager tends to hide his fear about others' person likely resistance to change. This is done by pretending that the two of you agree, even when you know you don't. And second, by doing or stressing the problem rather than the resistance. This is done by being persistently positive. And at last, if they still resist, then use your authoritarian power and make them clear that you will not take no for any answer. These all are done through covering up and avoiding candor or truthfulness and plain speaking. Nowadays, we are seeing a bulk number of companies struggling from transition from command and employees hierarchy to employees empowerment and organizational learning. These are becoming difficult because employees are basing their motivation on extrinsic factors. These factors are shaped by external factors such as incentives and rewards. These rewards can be tangible or intangible. Once employees base their motivation on extrinsic factors like CEO's promise, they are less likely to take chances or question companies' culture and policies and explore new areas. So they are much less likely to learn. So the energy available for work job derives from extrinsic factors such as good pay, well-designed job, and management promises. Individuals whose commitment and motivation are external depends on their managers to give them incentives to work. Just being positive and externally motivated will not serve the purpose of the organization. Such type of things will only produce superficial honesty and single loop learning. This is because for companies to change, employees must take active role, not only in describing the fault of the others, but also in describing the truth about their own behavior and motivation. Digging deeper and harder into the truth will produce double loop learning, which enables self-awareness, honesty, candor, and act of taking responsibility. The emphasis on being positive is plainly counterproductive. It overlooks critical role that dissatisfaction, low morale, and negative attitude can have in giving accurate picture of the organizational reality. So in conclusion, these three terms can sum up the whole idea. The employees should be empowered to accept their responsibility and produce desired performance by having full insight and candor of oneself. So good communication that blocks learning is only achieved by having intrinsic motivation and have full awareness of oneself. That's all from our side. Thank you for your patience listening.
Okay, let us listen to the other group.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Fareen.
Now, can I start?
Yes, please.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Farheen, and my group member is Shafi. Today, the topic of our presentation is how to negotiate across culture. So, before moving further, let's have a look what we are going to discuss in this article. We discuss about the author, introduction, 5 rules of negotiation, and finally conclusion. About the author. Erin Meyer is the author of this article. She is an American author and professor at INSEAD Business School based in Paris. She is also known for her book Culture Map. Now, come to the introduction of this article. If we want to negotiate other culture people, then we must know their style of communication because different cultures have different style of communication. We can easily negotiate in our country because we are aware from our culture, but for international negotiation, we need to do a lot of research. So, if we are negotiating internationally, we must know their rules, regulations, values, and ethics. So, to be effective negotiator, we must know how to communicate international organization. Now, Erin Mayer suggests 5 rule of thumb for negotiating across culture. Rule number 1, adapt the way you express disagreement. Rule number 2, know when to bottle it up or let it all pour out. Rule number 3, learn how the other culture builds trust. Rule number 4, avoid yes or no questions. And finally, rule number last, be careful about putting it in writing. Rule number 1, adapt the way you express disagreement. If we negotiate in international organization, then we must know how to disagree in a polite way. When we disagree with someone, it can often be a challenge to express our point of view without offending that person. But at the same time, it is important to express honest opinion. If we are negotiating in Russian organization, and if we say like this, I totally disagree with you or you are wrong, so this is the normal and healthy discussion there. But if we are negotiating in Mexican organization, we cannot say like this because Mexican offend quickly. But we can say like this, I'm not understanding, can you explain it more? So this is the normal and healthy discussion there. Now, some cultures use upgrade and downgrade words. Like Russians use upgrade words to complete their statement, completely and totally. And Mexicans use downgrade words like partially and little bit. So we have to understand upgrade and downgrade words with their own culture context. Now, rule number 2, know when to bottle it up and when to let it all pour out. The second rule points towards the importance of understanding how people belong to different cultures and countries, express and perceive emotions, agreement, and disagreement. During a negotiation, this helps in altering one's approach. For example, in certain cultures, it is common to talk in a loud voice, laugh, and even touch during negotiation, while in others, such behavior is seen as unprofessionalism. Open disagreement is a deal breaker in cultures like Brazil, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. But in some cultures like Denmark, Germany, it may even help positively during negotiation of a deal. Now, I invite Shafi to discuss further rules of negotiation.
Thank you, Fareen. Good morning, one and all present. I, Shafi, will be continuing from Rule 3. Rule 3, learn how the other culture build trust. Types of culture and cultural types of trust and cultural trust. Cognitive and effective trust. To make a strong connection, negotiator must understand that there are 2 types of trust: cognitive and effective. Cognitive trust. Cognitive trust is based on the confidence you feel in someone, skills, and reliability. The trust comes from the heart, is built through business interactions. You know your staff, you are pleasant and constituent, you are pleasant, you are demonstrate that your product is of or service is of good quality, so I trust you. Effective trust, however, arises from feeling of emotion, closeness, and friendship. I come from and it comes from the heart. I trust you because we laugh together, relax together, and connect on a personal level. Cognitive trust culture. In business settings, the dominant type of trust varies from one part of the world to the another. Americans, Australians, British, and the Germans tend to draw a sharp line between the emotion and the practical. Mixing of the two is viewed as unprofessional or may suggest a conflict of interest. Affective trust culture. In emerging market, however, negotiators are unlikely to trust their counterparts until an effective connection are made. Until an effective connection are made, a British manager explains that he finds American to be very friendly on the surface, but different on the to get to know at a deeper level. During a negotiation, he says they are so politically correct and careful not to show negative emotion that it is hard for us to trust them. Invest in trust building, do things together, show your human skills, demonstrate genuine interest, be patient. Rule 4, avoid yes and no question. Like, as in France, no may signal an invitation to debate, and the Indonesian manager that describes his own experience negotiating with a French company, when I asked them if they could kindly do something, the word no flew out from their mouth. And just not no, more like no, 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 no. It felt like being slapped repeatedly. It turned out that the French were happy to grant the request. They just wanted you to wait a little before coming to a final agreement. Reframe your question. Don't say will you do this? Say how long would it take to get this done? Any big problem can arise when negotiators miss signal like these. So try to reframe your yes and no question. Rather ask them, will you do this? Try how long would it take you to get this done? Next, listen and observe. And remember to engage all your senses in interrupting responses. When do you ask yes and no question? Yes and no question, even if the answer is yes, look for the signal that feels like no. An extra beat of silence, a sucking in the breath, as such as I will try, but it will be difficult. Because like that probably means the deal is not still sealed. Rule number 5, be careful about putting it in writing. As in US, the contracts are legally binding. Americans, for instance, rely heavy on written contract, more so than any other culture in the world. US contracts are legally binded and are seen as making it easier to do business with the people we otherwise have no reason to trust. In Nigeria, trust in contract can feel like a trap. But in the countries where legal system is less reliable and relationships carries more weight, written contracts are generally less detailed. Understand the role of contract. Deal isn't always final. Hence, it is critical to proceed continuously with written contracts and to understand what they mean in different culture. Ask your counterpart to draft easy version. They that may you can use how much details they are planning to commit to before you create a document for them to sign, and be ready to reframe the contract when negotiator in emerging market, especially remember that everything is dynamic, and no deal is even 100% final. I close my words by saying bring someone who understands other culture. It's if possible, take someone with you to the negotiating table who is from the other culture or knows it. Even even when there is no language barriers, the person can help you to build a cultural bridge and interpret what's going in between the lines. Now I'll invite Farheen to conclude.
In the end, I would like to conclude that words matter, but culture context often means more. When we negotiate any deal, we need to persuade and react, to convince and final, and to push our agenda while building consistency. What is spoken is important, but in the heat of the discussion, unspoken communication is just as important. Thank you.
Okay, let us begin our assessment, and we shall begin with Usman and Shadab. Usman, would you like to reflect on your performance?
Yes, sir. Sir, I found that I'm kind of a hurrying बहुत तेज तेज बोल रहा था एक तो
इस चीज का लगा, बट सर द मेन इशू अराइज
Please open your video.
इट इज हियर बिकॉज ओके
I'm not able to see you. Yes.
यस सर
Don't use mic. I think you were better without mic.
ओके सर
Because your voice gets, it breaks when you use mic. Yes. You are muted.
Sir. Yes, sir. Sir, I am saying that initially I prepared this for 15 minutes because Faraz sir allows that for 15 minutes. But then I came to know that it's your turn to assist us and the time limit is 10 minutes. So in the last 2 days I have to, cut the things. And in the morning I got a something nervous because of the audio thing. So I am like in a hurry, in a rush.
Mhm. And what about Shadab?
Yes, so I think there was lack of coordination between my words and my gesture. So I will try to improve on that. I will note down the point feedback that you will give to us and will continuously work on that.
Did you notice the written feedback which I shared yesterday? Did you read it?
Yes, sir, I have read that.
Usman, did you read it?
Yes, sir.
About mom plan?
Yes, sir, you have stated that you should be ready with the plan B. Well,
Usman, I'm
Yes,
asking
sir.
you. I'm asking you. Yesterday I discussed that idea of mom plan.
Sir, so yesterday I was not here.
I shared it on the WhatsApp group.
No, I didn't see, sir. Sorry.
And can you run your PPT again?
Yes, sir.
Both of you? Move on to the fourth slide. What is your reflection on this? Again, if I ask you in the double loop learning mode,
Sir, basically we are trying to say that
no,
familiar
no,
technique. Yes, sir.
I'm not talking about the content. I'm talking about the way it has been prepared. Will it support your communication?
Mm, yes, sir.
Do you remember a rule which we have discussed in the class, I think, number of times? Rule of 5 by 5.
Yes, sir.
Move on to the next. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
Do you think this is a good slide, and especially in the light of the feedbacks which we have given number of times?
No, sir. No, sir.
especially if you are explaining and the audience are reading it also. Do you think they will be able to concentrate on your oral communication?
There is too much text.
Please move on to the next. Just very simple things, Usman. You have already written the board title, double loop learning. And you have repeated double loop learning in both the points again. Is there a need?
Yes.
When Juran is considered to be a master quality expert, he was basically an American, and he went to Japan. All his techniques, they found such ready acceptance in Japan, and Juran's quality systems became a rage actually in Japan. So people asked him, how come your ideas didn't click in America and worked so well in Japan? Juran replied, the difference was not in terms of what I said. The difference was in terms of what was heard. So we have been repeatedly sharing inputs, and if we do not care to read about them or do not care to take a mental note of it, how it helps? Move on to the next slide. Do you write full sentences in a PPT slide?
No, sir. We shouldn't.
Next. To me, there should have been just 2 points: espouse theory of action, and next point, theory in use. That's all. You are there to explain. When we are faced with an embarrassing or threatening issue with the program, all you are there to explain all this. Right? And I've been repeating this point again and again that PowerPoint is not a substitute. It is only an aid to your presentation. Next. This is a good slide. And again, there is no, we move on to the previous one only. The devil is always in details. Was there a need for this red colored text? Anything which is done, it should be with a purpose. 4 is already there, isn't it? Anybody can read that there are 4 governing variables. You can write simply theories in use, governing variables. Move on to the next. So my point is, again, I don't want to, sound as if I'm not encouraging enough. But we have to learn to appreciate the feedback which is offered in the class, and that is the purpose of organizing all these sessions. We can deliver the best lecture on what is an ideal presentation. What we are trying to do is, in the context of each presentation, we are sharing those governing principles so that they click better. And we hope that once a feedback is given, in the next presentation it will be incorporated. But this kind of slides actually is very, very discouraging for us. As if whatever we have discussed is just not clicking in. It is not sinking in.
Yes, sir.
And it also indicates lack of thoughtfulness before preparation, or when you are preparing for the presentation. Put anything on the slide and it will go, and the job will be over. And you have good command over language, Usman. I appreciate your flow in the communication. But again, we have discussed an idea that a good presentation is like a picture. Do you remember that? It has an intro, then we develop the body, and then we have a summarized concluding comment. Is it just good communication that matters, which you say now it is the perfect time for Shadab to take over? Is it a good sentence to hand over the chart? The proper approach would be you summarize your part. Okay, till now I have talked about double loop learning and single loop learning, and I have discussed how they matter in organizational life. And now for the rest of the part, which will include these things, I request my colleague Shadab to share the views. Or it's a typical example of good communication that blocks learning. Is your focus on speaking nice sentences? Or is our focus on expressing the idea well? So I repeat the point, making an ideal presentation and making a good presentation is no rocket science. We just need to be slightly more thoughtful, learn from others' experiences. We observe, we reflect on what has already been done, and then we build upon that. So a good speaker has to be a good listener first. Without that, the communication doesn't improve. I'm sorry. Shadab, you also spoke well, and especially your example which you shared of that motivational speaker, that was a good example of communication. But maybe you have to work a bit on your diction. You speak English correctly, but there's some problem in your pronunciation.
Yes, accent problem.
Say it again, problem. Say it again.
Sir, accent problem.
Abhi, you pronounce the word problem. Say it again.
Problem.
Problem. You tend to say problem.
Yes, sir.
O जो है, it doesn't come out very clearly.
Okay, sir. We'll work on that.
Record your conversation and then listen to it. Take feedback from somebody on whom you have trust, and that will help.
Okay, sir.
Now, Shafi and Farheen,
Yes, sir.
can we have your views first?
So I think lack of practice and I mispronounced some words.
Do you remember some of them? Because I don't remember. Any?
So I think that in a hurry I mispronounced one of the word I don't remember. But I know that in a hurry I mispronounced one or two words.
That's no issue. That's no issue. I think, but I did not notice it. Farheen, what about you?
Yes, sir. Because of lack of practice, we mispronounce some words, and we less interact with the audience. So we will work on it.
I think you both of you did a reasonably good job. I would compliment you for, especially for the coordination that you demonstrated in the movement of the slide. Because especially when Shafi was presenting, you were changing the slides. I understand, Farheen.
No, sir,
No, sir.
I was only doing it, sir.
Huh?
Sir, I was only doing it. I was only changing the slides.
Acha, acha.
Yes, sir.
So that's something which I noted, that there was very good coordination, especially the coordination between verbal communication and the movement of the slides.
Thank you, sir.
So, and both of you were lucid in your presentation. Maybe, Farheen, you could be slightly more expressive with your facial expressions. Otherwise, your oral communication was good. Maybe some slides needs to be reworked at. Can you run your PPT and show me the last slide again?
Yes, sir. So one. The conclusion part.
Yes. These are all good slides,
Thank you, sir.
except for the last one. Can you think of the key points in this, Farheen? How can you reduce the content on the slide?
Sir, in the last we have to give the present. We have to give the conclusion. So we can only say that we can adapt these slides. We can adapt these points in a real life for negotiation internationally, and uh, we before negotiation we must know their rules regulations for international organizations in international organizations.
Just think about it. What could be the 3 points or 4 points that could be the concluding points, and which could be presented as bullet points rather than as running text? Like the first point is well taken. Words matter, but cultural context matters more, for example. When you are negotiating any deal, you need to persuade and react, to convince and finesse, and to push your agenda while building consensus. Because the key point is, you have already made the first point that cultural context matters, isn't it? More. So next point, building consensus in negotiations. And you will explain, you don't push too hard and you have to convince with finesse and all that. No need to write everything. What is spoken is important, but in the heat of the discussion, unspoken communication is as important. Now you have already said words matter. What is spoken is important. Here your key point is unspoken communication. In heat of the situation, unspoken communication is crucial. That's all. So internalize better, think better. Many of us are in this mold, and this is what I wish we get out of this mold, that your job is not to repeat exactly the way it has been presented in the article. You have to internalize first and then think of the words which come to your mind to express that idea. Get to the core of the idea. If we start doing it, I think we will become better communicators.
Okay, sir, I will work on it.
Because both of you are blessed with good communication skills.
Thank you, sir.
You are speaking confidently. But you have to get to the core of the idea. Once you internalize the idea better, you already have a good vehicle, that is language, to express that idea. And that is why we keep saying it, 90% of our effectiveness is already set when we come for presentation. And that is the quality of internalization that we have done. Have we really absorbed the idea? We chew and digest the idea. We mull over it. So it is this process of chewing and digesting, absorbing, mulling, which I shared on the WhatsApp group. What I must say, what is the core of the idea? Okay, thank you very